When you're looking at a high-end gaming laptop, the first thing that makes you pause is whether the price tag actually translates into something you'll notice on a night in the gaming chair, or if you'll end up with another box of power that sits idle most of the day. I've spent the last few weeks juggling the Acer Nitro V against a couple of its rivals, checking how the hardware behaves when I'm swapping from a strategy marathon to a fast-paced shooter, and I'll break down exactly what that means for you. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Nitro V advertises a 15.6-inch 165Hz IPS panel paired with an Intel i9-13900H and an RTX 5060 GPU. Those numbers sound impressive, but the real question is how they feel when you actually fire up Elden Ring at 1080p, or when you pull out a spreadsheet in the middle of the day. In practice, the 165Hz screen does give you that buttery smoothness you notice in competitive shooters. Enemy movements don't blur, and you can track fast rotations without the ghosting you sometimes see on cheaper panels. The i9-13900H, with its 24 cores, is more than capable of handling the latest titles at high settings, and it also means you can keep a few background apps open: Discord, a web browser with a music stream, maybe a video call without the frame rate dipping noticeably. That's a practical strength you won't see in the spec sheet, real multitasking without sacrificing game fluidity. On the flip side, the RTX 5060 is a step down from the RTX 3060-based laptops you might see in the same price bracket. It still pushes 1080p ultra settings, but you'll notice a modest drop in ray tracing performance. In a game like Cyberpunk 2077, you'll have to dial back to medium-high settings if you want to keep the 60 frames per second target, especially when you enable DLSS. That's a hidden trade-off. You get the i9 CPU, but the GPU is calibrated for a more budget-friendly tier. If you're primarily after the absolute maximum visual fidelity with ray tracing on, you might feel constrained. The 1TB Gen 4 SSD is one of those silent winner components. Load times in open-world titles are down to a few seconds, and the Gen 4 interface means you're not bottlenecked when you transfer large game files or edit 4K footage. For anyone who treats their laptop as a workstation on off days, that speed translates into less waiting and more creating. The 16GB DDR4 memory is adequate for most modern games, but it's not the newer DDR5 you'll find in the newest premium models. If you regularly run memory-intensive applications like virtual machines or large-scale video rendering, you might feel the pinch after a few hours of heavy use. Thermal performance is where Acer's cool under pressure branding gets put to the test. The Nitro V uses a dual-fan system with a copper heat pipe, and during extended gaming sessions the laptop hovers around the low 80s Celsius under load. That's warm, but it stays within the safe envelope for the i9 chip, and you won't hear the fans screaming at maximum speed every few minutes. In a real-world scenario, I could game for 2 hours, take a short break, and the system would settle back down quickly enough that the next session started with the same acoustic level. It's not whisper quiet, but it's far from the noisy throttling you sometimes encounter on cheaper high-performance laptops. Now, who should actually consider buying this machine? If you're a gamer who wants a portable rig that can handle the latest AAA releases at high settings, values a higher refresh-rate display for competitive play, and also needs a solid CPU for occasional content creation, the Nitro V lands in a sweet spot. It's especially appealing for students or professionals who travel and need that blend of gaming muscle and productivity power. The backlit keyboard, Wi-Fi 6 connectivity, and the sleek chassis make it practical for both dorm rooms and coffee shop workstations. Conversely, if your primary focus is ray-traced visuals at 4K, or you're chasing the absolute top-tier GPU performance without compromise, you'll find the RTX 5060 limiting. Likewise, if you're looking for the longest possible battery life, this laptop won't be a champion. The i9 chip and 165Hz screen drain the battery fast enough that you'll be tethered to a charger after a couple of hours of gaming. For someone who expects a laptop to double as an all-day workhorse with minimal plug-in time, the Nitro V might feel like a compromise. A practical weakness that often gets glossed over is the weight and thickness. At just under 5 pounds, It's heavier than Ultrabooks you could use for everyday commuting. The chassis is slim for a gaming laptop, but the trade-off is a slightly tighter palm rest area, which can feel cramped during long sessions. It's not a deal-breaker if you're okay with the occasional shift in posture, but it's worth noting if you've struggled with ergonomics before. Another subtle point is the software ecosystem. Acer includes its NitroSense utility, which lets you toggle between performance and quiet modes. The utility is intuitive, but you'll need to spend a few minutes learning the curves if you